This is Sunday the 12th of August 2018 and I'm meeting with Aye Lwin in his lovely home on Yorminji Street in Yangon. So Aye Lwin, you're commonly known amongst Westerners anyway, and a lot of your friends as Jimmy.
Yes.
So could we start, when you were born and where you were born?
I was born before the Second World War in 1937, and my father, who was in the civil service, my mother was just a housewife. My father finally became a top senior civil service officer as financial commissioner in the government of Myanmar. And I have to thank my parents for the education that they gave me, especially when I was in the 5th grade. They happily decided to send me to Darjeeling, St. Joseph's College. I was there in India, Darjeeling, India, when I was in the 5th grade, and spent 3 years of my education, which is passing my junior Cambridge. Then it was going well, but I had to decide to return to Myanmar because the standard of Myanmar language taught there is far below that I need to be educated in Myanmar language to continue my studies in Myanmar and also to join any service. So the language standard was below standard because the teachers, a couple, Hussein Ko, the wife, taught also Myanmar language in the sister school, Rotary Convent in Darjeeling, and they did what they could, but the standard of the language that I studied under them was far below. I need to join or for further studies here or joining any service.
It must have been very rare for somebody to be sent abroad to study, surely, at that time.
Very rare, yes. I have to thank my parents. A friend of theirs sent their two sons and a daughter to Darjeeling. The daughter went to Rotary Convent, and the 2 sons went to St. Joseph's College, and they learned about the school from their friends, the parents of these 2 who went to North Point, Darjeeling, at St. Joseph's College, and they liked what they heard, and they sent me there for further studies, and I was there at St. Joseph's College when I was in 5th grade.
But were there any other children in your family sent there, or
no?
Were there other children in the family? Other siblings? Did you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, my younger brother. Brother, no, because he was 5 years younger.
Okay.
So at the time they sent me, he was young to join.
So your father was not just a senior civil servant. That would have been in the colonial days, right?
Yeah.
So he was senior
senior civil servant.
Yeah.
And then he was a retired Indian civil servant, what they call
I see.
ICS.
Very difficult to get into that.
Yeah, and he rose to the highest position finally as financial commissioner.
And I'd say that's probably one of the most important positions in any government.
Yeah, and he actually served under both financial commissioner for finance and also for revenue, two posts together, and that's and I have to thank them for sending me on to Darjeeling.
Was it a tearful departure? Were you excited, or was it?
Well, you can see, I had to take the Indian boat, passenger boat. I remember the name of the ship was Chalakopal, and when I was on the ship, my father, drove along the Strand Road up to the Monkey Point, while the boat was going.
And you were waving goodbye from the boat?
Yeah, when I could see them. So that was that.
And really, his motivation was to give you the best education.
Oh, sure. Because he got his education in England.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how. He became, the highest post, Indian Civil Service, as financial commissioner.
So your grandparents also must have been high achievers.
Well, my grandparents, I came to know my grandparents from my mother's side. He was with the railways. He managed and he supplied and gained quite a lot of wealth. He supplied, for the railways, the sleepers.
So he's an entrepreneur, a businessman.
Yeah, businessman as well as he was with the Myanmar Railways. So, he could manage.
Right.
Yeah. So, his name is Uba Singh, and he is very renowned mathematician, and he founded the society called Mathematical Society of Buddhism, interpreting Buddhist principles and teachings into mathematics.
Goodness gracious.
And I didn't know him. I didn't know his renowned position as a mathematician until he passed away. He tried to get me and tried to teach me, but I was not interested so much in mathematics. So anyway, I came to know that he was well known outside of Myanmar.
As
also,
well, in
yes,
the Buddhist world.
After he passed away, because the letters came in, and I was the eldest
Grandchild.
Grandchild, and I had to reply to people from abroad, asking him about mathematics and Buddhism, and all the questions that I could not answer.
So he was not only a businessman, he also was a mathematician.
Yeah, he was.
Wow, that's a very unusual
He was,
combination.
that's why he could, found the society called Mathematical Society of Buddhism. So interpreting Buddhism
The numbers
with
used, 6, 9, 12.
mathematics. Yes.
I wonder if that still exists.
No.
But even for your father, well, I suppose it shows that that your father could afford to send you abroad like
Oh
that.
yes, he was.
Being a
He did, not that he is rich, but he managed to send me the North Point, Darjeeling, St. Joseph's College. It was run by Jesuits,
right.
Canadian Jesuits at that, and one would come every year to collect the children going there, and there was a school here, just at the corner of Bojo and this thing.
Within a couple of 100 metres of this home.
Well, at that time I was not living here.
Oh, okay, of course. No, but within a couple of 100 metres of here, it's very central, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So come and collect the children, and he takes them back
On the boat, on this.
on the boat. So they're about almost 100
Really?
at that time.
And did you only come back once a year? Or?
Once a year at winter time.
And surely that was tough living in a.
I would say 3 years. Well, I enjoyed it, and looking back, I value the discipline that they taught me, and I value that.
Because
very
they had
much.
corporal punishment and everything, didn't they?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Father Prefect over there, if you go astray with rubber this thing.
But you say you enjoyed your time because there were, you said 100 of you went. You were able to speak Burmese while you. There were a number of other Burmese boys there with you.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you were all
Not-
by yourself.
No, not alone. I mean, I was in the intermediate division. Most of the students from Myanmar are in the primary.
Okay, you're a big boy.
Yeah.
So you were 13, I think you said. 37, you went there in 50, I think, 1950.
50 years.
Yeah. So, are there any particular memories of your time at the school there that stick in your mind?
Well, looking back, like I mentioned, I value the discipline, that they taught me, and also value of time.
And were you a conscientious student, or were you rebellious, or were you?
No, I was never. I never got.
Never got the cane. Never got,
Not the cane, with the.
a
what
rubber
is rubber
ruler,
thing?
a ruler, or something.
No,
like
not
that?
ruler, belt.
Oh, with a belt.
Yeah.
Okay, leather belt.
So
Yeah. So you're a good kid. And when you came back, so you're 15 or 16, is that right? By the time you came back,
yeah, about that.
you didn't go
3
back
years.
into didn't do more secondary schooling here.
Of course, I had to.
Yeah. So where did you go when you came back?
Well, when I came back, I joined a private school, Sir Solomon Private School, simply because I could get they teach especially the language that I'm weak in, Myanmar, better there at the school, since it's a private school.
It's not a crammer. You wouldn't call it a crammer where you just go to study for exams. It was to give you a rounded education.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. and after passing the 10th standard, I could join the university.
Straight from is 10th standard the last year of school at that time?
Yeah.
Right.
10th standard and then university, first year, second year,
And did you know what you wanted to do with your life? Did you know what you wanted to do?
I was interested in medicine, but I didn't become a doctor at the time. Maybe it's convenient when Foreign Service recruited junior officers, and I competed together with almost 1,500 students, and 7 of us, my batch, joined, and we were in the Foreign Service.
I suppose it's relevant at this stage to say that people like your father were scrupulously honest, weren't they? No influence would have been ever used by him in terms of getting you in somewhere. Is that correct?
Well, I would say he never had to try to do that. His name was enough.
But they wouldn't see that on the exam paper, would they?
Oh, no. I mean, not for exams.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Not that. I mean, to join institutions and all that. That's what I meant.
Okay. But of course, for foreign people listening to this, there's no family name, so you have to understand the link, don't you, between your father's name was what?
Lwin.
Okay. Well, that's not necessarily, he did use Lwin, but in many cases Burmese don't have second name is not a family name.
Mm-hmm.
But in your case, he brought in the family name.
Well, mine, I had a different name to begin with.
Okay.
And I changed.
Oh, okay.
At the time when I got recruited.
Okay.
In Foreign Service.
Okay. So what was your real name? What was your birth name?
Van U.
Van U. Completely different. So your Jimmy that you got, did you get that in Darjeeling or did you get that
here
at Solomon's or
no at given to me by Mother Superior at the school that I went to just at the outbreak of Second World War. So Mother Superior gave me that name, Jimmy, and that was stuck.
So what happened during those war years? Where did you go? Did you stay in Yangon or did you?
No, you cannot stay here, especially Japanese occupation. My father, being a senior officer, and we had to escape to one of the villages down south in the Rotary, past Patay, to escape. But the Japanese found him and took him back to serve in the occupied Japanese occupied government.
They needed him.
I mean, they needed people, so they came to know about him, and then they found him where he was with us in town south. We passed Bongale. We had my grand aunt has rice mill in that village, and we we escaped to go and stay with them.
And did you
with
see Japanese there or not?
What?
Did Japanese come to that village, or basically they left everyone in peace? And
Well, I mean, the Japanese came, but they were not that many to have people all around in villages. So they came just to find my father, and they took him back to serve in the.
and you remained there.
Yes, I remained over there.
And at that time there was no schooling, right, during the Japanese period?
Oh, I went schooling there.
Oh, really? Because many people I talked to of your vintage, when they're up north and so on, there was no school for several
Well,
years.
the village has
The village had school, and you, okay.
So I had partly the sort of education you can get from, that sort of
A
institution.
monastery school or a village?
It's related, connected with monastic
Right.
education.
Right. So, just one last question before we move on to your time in the Foreign Service. Are you, which I've learned from many of the people I talk to, who's a pure Burman? So many families seem to be mixtures of all different things, but are you pure Burman? Are you Burman virtually everywhere in your family?
Well, my grandfather has some Arakanese blood.
Arakanese, yes, from the
My
west.
grandfather.
Yeah.
And my grandmother, his wife, my grandfather's wife, came from Mon side.
Right.
So Mon.
Mon, she's a Mon, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a mixture.
Yeah, like as I find out, most Burmese, there's,
Yeah.
and many too have some Chinese too. I've found through talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
But yours is Arakanese and Mon is the main ingredient. So, when you joined the Foreign Service, what happened then? What was it like in those days, Foreign Service?
Well, I joined the Foreign Service through competition, and I'm glad to say 7 of us, our batch, we got recruited, and then not too long after, I was assigned as junior third secretary to the permanent mission in New York. At the time, Uthan left to be Secretary General.
The first.
He was
Yeah.
heading the Myanmar mission,
Right.
and at the time I went there, he had just left to become Secretary General in the.
Wow.
And I joined as a junior officer in the permanent mission of Myanmar, which was also Consul General of the Union of Myanmar. I had to serve in dual capacity as third secretary to the mission and vice consul in the consulate general, because the mission was 2 in 1.
Right. So they didn't have one in Washington. You had it all in New York. Is that right? Or you're talking about the UN mission, okay, and the consulate general for Myanmar.
Yeah.
Okay. So that must have been a really wonderful position to.
Well, I value that because of the experience that I could get.
So early in your career.
Yeah, and it was my luck that the then government, decided to participate in the New York World's Fair, the first one, and sent delegations from Myanmar, and I had to do the groundwork there, getting in touch with people in the running of New York World's Fair, and all other things, buying a car for them, and accommodation, and connect them to people that they need to, and the delegate. It was 2 years in running the New York World's Fair, and government sent one delegation only for 6 months, and another delegation, the new delegation, come, and I had to repeat
Start
the same
over again.
Yeah, to lead them, to see people, and then to also to run a business in the World's Fair.
What was that? 60s. That's is that
63.
63.
Yeah.
So you actually obviously have met Utant. I mean, who's
Oh, sure. I mean, he was heading the mission, but then at the time I got there, he had left for
Secretary General. But
General.
you must have had.
When we go over to his house, we know his children, both the daughter and the son, and we spent, weekends.
In a way, it put Burma on the world map, didn't it? I mean, such a prominent position, being Secretary General of the UN.
Yeah. Well, the taxi drivers came to know where Burma is. Before they said Burma, Bermuda.
Yeah. I don't think it's too different in America now. So they must have been wonderful years. And so you were there for what, a few years?
2 to 3 years.
Yeah, yeah. And then back to Yangon or Rangoon as it was then.
No, I was assigned. Oh yes, first to the ministry, and then I didn't stay too long in the ministry. I was assigned to Bangladesh.
And given the current situation we have, were there issues between Bangladesh and Burma even back then?
Well, yes. I mean, issues, border crossing and all that, and as second man in the embassy there.
And it was a new one, was that right? Was it a new embassy?
No, it was previously. It was consulate general, and then when Bangladesh attained independence,
yeah,
they converted that into embassy, and that was the time I got assigned. And unfortunately, the administration back home at the foreign ministry didn't realize enough the sort of help that they need to provide to a consulate general turned to embassy. So the facility I had then there was the same as a consulate general, not an embassy. So I had to run the business there with those facilities.
And at that time, could you, living in New York and then living there, the salary of a foreign service person was enough to enable you to live, or?
You're joking?
No, it's a serious question. Like, was it a hardship?
Well, I mean, the country itself was not that developed.
Right.
So the finances were not that thing. So you get the sort of salary a poor government could give, especially the hard-earned dollars, for people, being assigned abroad. It's not chats. Chats, I mean, they may be able to increase, but dollars is something else.
And that's what they needed, obviously.
Yeah, abroad, you
Yeah.
have to get the...
Yeah. But like you would have got a bigger loading. They must have some adjustment if you're sent to New York or sent to Bangladesh at that time.
Yeah, but then I mean, it's not commensurate with the expenses that one need to expect results. I mean, the government expect results, but not provided with the sort of financial facilities that they should, and yet you have to show results.
So it's a career. Yeah, it's really giving to the country, isn't it?
Sure.
Yeah. And by this time, are you married or not married?
Married, and then my daughter is born already. She's about 5 years old.
Right. And how did you meet your wife? What was the story there?
Here in Myanmar, she waited for me, in a sense. She was 1 year senior at the university, first year university. She, at the time of examination, she had ulcer, so she could not appear for the exams. So she had to repeat. That's when I caught up.
And so when you said she waited for you...
I mean, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I know, but you went to... she didn't come to New York, for example.
No. That was before New York.
Okay, so you got married before New York.
Oh yeah.
Okay. When you joined the service.
After I passed and then got a bachelor degree, we were together.
Right.
And that was when I got married.
Okay.
And then when I joined foreign service, I already married her.
Right.
So,
she didn't join the foreign service.
No.
Did she study?
But she was teaching in the international school. Yeah.
So when you went to Bangladesh, there was you, Sandy, your daughter, and was your son born by then or not? He wasn't.
Yeah.
He would have been very young.
Yeah.
So were things like the word Rohingya in existence at that time? You know, like no mention of that?
No, I mean, I had to lead, being in the Myanmar embassy, to lead the delegation coming to have discussion for developing and drafting border ground rules, because both sides realize that it is a porous border and there would be crossings, and not when there are such crossings to be able to resolve at a local level.
Right.
So we have to set up the ground rules for the two sides to discuss and resolve the problem.
And
so the delegation came a couple of times, and I had to arrange and lead, and then discuss with the Bangladesh side.
So maybe those rules stayed in existence and operation.
But despite the rules, I mean, the problem developed about Rohingyas and whatnot.
Right, but it wasn't of the same level at that time.
No. That time, no.
Yeah.
That time, we were trying to prevent.
Right.
Because the border is so porous
Right.
that we know there will be crossings. When there are crossings, to be able to resolve at the local level. So they must have ground rules to work on to resolve the problem.
And for those that don't know Myanmar, is it all a river border or is it some of it a land border?
Well, with Bangladesh,
Yeah.
some river border, but not too deep. You know, at places.
But it's completely a river border, is it?
Not completely river. There's a land border.
There's
also.
land as well.
Yeah.
So it's just, even now, I suppose,
Yeah.
there's no fence or anything like that. You can just walk backwards and forward.
the Indian tried to put up barbed wire fence, but it didn't help them that much.
So when you came back from Bangladesh, you got involved with what?
I think I was with the ministry for about 5 years.
Yes, I think you were in international law and treaties.
Yes.
And
And
then you went back to Washington.
yeah.
So even in the time when you were treaties, you again a lot of international travel for you in all the international
Yeah.
agreements that
Yeah. Especially law of the sea.
law of the sea. Yeah, yeah. Was Myanmar was a party, or Burma as it was a original party to the UN Convention?
On the law of the sea.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
With me heading, can't be otherwise.
No, that was a huge victory getting that through, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was and in Indonesia, I think it was Mokhtar Kusatmaja was the foreign minister who was a lawyer. He was very interested in law of the sea. Yeah, that was very important times. And then what was the Washington story?
The deputy there,
One below ambassador.
one below ambassador. Most of the time I headed the mission because one ambassador was recalled. The other didn't come for quite a while, over a year.
And that was the 88 student riots. 88 was when you were there, 88, 89. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I know from talking to a number of your fellow citizens, many ambassadors at that time were recalled for supporting the student issues and were pensioned off. Was that the case with your ambassador? Did he just retire?
They are most of the ambassadors, the head of missions, are not from our service. It's from outside.
The parachute, they call them, the
Yeah.
parachute ambassadors.
So if they are recalled, they are.
Right. So
I mean,
you already...
Normally, ambassador's position is equivalent to that of Director General in the ministry, but they are not. Most of them was not given that post, and they just retired.
But most of them by then were starting to be military people, weren't they? Gradually. But Washington would have been, I'm just guessing, but Washington would have been a pretty important post for a military man to be appointed to rather than a career diplomat.
Yeah, the one who came when I was there was former mayor of Yangon, but he was from military, and he was assigned as ambassador to Washington.
But you were only there for a year or so. You weren't very long in Washington on this posting. What, is there a reason for that?
I was stupid enough to be efficient, so they don't keep efficient people too long abroad. They take them back home and to be a real workhorse.
So that must have been a disappointment, because it would have been nice and interesting there at that time, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, actually, I was more concerned with education of my daughter.
Right. But this was 88, which, for people who don't know, that's when there was...
I think so.
Yeah, it was. I'm looking at your notes here. You said from November 1988 till August 1989, you're in Washington. But do you, again, a number of your friends and colleagues who I've talked to, do you have, were you up to date with all of the things happening back in Yangon at that time, or Rangoon, the student uprising? Was that all, everyone talked about that?
The embassy can't help but learn about what's happening back home.
Probably from BBC or ABC.
Well,
Or,
that also, but also getting news
right.
from the ministry. We said that it was age of using facts.
Facts. Yes.
So I do get the information.
And were you the classic civil servant that politics? You stay right away from politics, or were you
I never got myself into
stay right away from politics, just career civil servant?
Yeah.
And when you came back, that's when you you dealt with treaties again. Yeah. And I think you did that for quite a while. You did that for 9 years or so. And was that enjoyable time? Was that interesting?
Interesting in the sense that at least, when you get results, you're getting results.
Because I think you had to try and determine the maritime boundaries were for a number of countries.
Yes.
Which you...
Especially with Thailand.
Yes.
And Bangladesh and India.
I understand you succeeded at all except Bangladesh. Bangladesh was still outstanding when you finished.
It's true.
Is it now agreed? Would it have been agreed by now, or
no? They're still going on.
Right. So it's 20 years later. It's still no. And is it
so? You can be sure it was not my fault.
Not your fault. Why would it be such a big deal to agree the border with Bangladesh? There's no minerals or anything like that, is there?
There's maritime boundary.
Right.
And underneath what you have, under the sea.
Yeah. They expect there's oil or gas. Yeah. But it's unknown whether there is.
Well, they believe.
Right.
There's oil. So also India.
Yeah. But you've agreed. You don't have a border with offshore border.
Offshore border. No, we have maritime.
With India?
External.
Right. Yeah.
I mean maritime boundary.
Yeah. 250 miles away.
Yeah.
And then that's till the mid-90s you did that. And then from 1997 till you retired, I think, in 2001, so that's for another 4 years, you were Director General, which is like rank of Ambassador.
Actually, 1997 was the year I should have retired. But then
because 37 to 97 is 60. You were 60 years old.
I should have retired. But 1997, they created this new department to which they let me head.
What was the new department? Oh, Department of ASEAN Affairs. But doesn't that sit under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
Sure.
Yeah, so it's a new department within the ministry.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And how were those years? Were they interesting years, those 4 years?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned 1997 was the year I should have retired.
Right.
Then they created the ASEAN department.
Right.
And let me head that.
Right.
So I had to deal with ASEAN affairs with ASEAN countries.
And probably even got to know a few Australian ambassadors during that time.
Oh, sure.
So who would have been? Chris Lamb? People like
Chris Lamb.
Yeah. Because Australia actually was quite interested in Burma at that time. And were there any big issues between, I mean, other than the fact it was a military dictatorship, but that you had to deal with, like Thailand and deal with Malaysia and Indonesia?
Well, in Thailand we have still undefined land boundary, and I had to deal with that. Although in ASEAN department, because it's an ASEAN country.
Sure. And no issues with Indonesia or Malaysia, Singapore? They're the ones that are probably closest.
Not big issues.
Not big issues. So you retired in 2001 and
Happily retired.
and since then you've been very busy with a number of different things.
Well, I have someone from Norway, Dr. Arne Fjetoft from Norway.
Yeah.
He's here. He's Secretary General of Worldview International Foundation, and I teamed up with him because I'm also concerned with climate change, and to avert or to reduce the impact of climate change, we are growing mangroves down south in the delta called Machi area, and I'm teamed up with him. He's Secretary General of Worldview International Foundation, and Worldview International Foundation elected me as a chairman here in Myanmar. So I help him grow mangroves
to play a part
and run the office here.
And you've also chaired Rotary. I think you're quite involved with Rotary.
Rotary is another thing. I mean, Rotary, it's some Rotary, and then manage to make the organization, found again here in Myanmar, and now it's doing pretty well, and I'm very happy.
So was it prohibited to have Rotary for many years?
No. It's not only prohibition to Rotary organization as such. The government just didn't accept any organization at that time, and then the Rotary had to close down.
Okay.
Only now, we're starting again.
And I know there's other things that you've been doing as well.
Helping people.
I know some people. Yes, you've been helping a number of entrepreneurs in Myanmar, like your friendship with U Ten Tun.
Yes, but then he doesn't need me that much to run his organization. This thing, after the work on Tun Foundation English Myanmar dictionary, that was it. And then
he speaks very fondly of the work you did there.
Yeah, he wanted to carry on with the encyclopedia, but the ownership was with the Ministry of Information, and we couldn't get it over. Ministry of Information is continuing with the encyclopedia work.
That's a massive job. I think you're probably lucky you didn't have to do it.
No,
it would have been huge.
I would have been happy.
Really? Okay.
If we could get it over to run, and to make changes and to run without getting Ministry of Information okay on each step of the way. That was what we didn't want to, and decided, okay, if you want to carry on, please carry on.
So I've come to my last question. So if your great-great-grandchildren are listening to this one day, what, the secrets, of the life you've led, what are the messages that what message or messages would you give to, young people about how to live their life?
To lead a sincere life, and to be persistent about getting to the goal that they have set, and hopefully the goals are the right goals, to achieve, and to be persistent about it, and to work hard to get to
it's a very difficult question to ask you right at the end without any warning, but I think that's great advice. So, Jimmy Aye Lwin, thank you very much for talking with me this afternoon. Thank you very, very much.
Well, Peter, thank you for interviewing me and getting information as best I could give, and hopefully that information that you have in your recorder will be helpful to others in time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.